walk by. There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my there goes a sight. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. There goes a sight from my soul. I think a fall angel just walked by. 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 There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my there goes a sight. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul.
All right. How is everybody doing? Hopefully you guys have had a wonderful day. I know I have had one. No, not really. Actually, no, I have had a good day. I'll tell you guys a little bit about that later on today. Sit back, relax. We're going to be getting started here pretty soon. I'm going to unbox something for you guys. I know what's in it, but you guys don't. And I've never actually put my hands on it yet, though. I've just kind of know what's coming. So we'll talk a little bit about that, what the fish are doing right now, go over a little bit of this weekend as far as the weather, what can we expect, and just kind of chat it up with you guys. So sit back, give me a few seconds here.
There goes a sight, there goes a sight. There goes a sight from my soul. I think a fall angel just walked by. 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 There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my there goes a sight. There goes a sight, there goes a sight.
Ta-da! How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Next Level Fishing Show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Of course, as you guys know by now, this podcast is brought to you by KAYAK Fishing. Ta-da! Your paddle sports retailer, everything outdoors. They have a lot of stuff, actually, just outside of kayak fishing. I took a glance. It's been a while since I've been on the ACK website, and I was looking up some fish finder things, and which is actually what we're going to be sort of talking about for the month of November. I took y'all's advice on what we're going to talk about for this month, so we picked monthly topics, right? So we're going to be talking about how to actually use your fish finder. But at the same time, I'm not like a super pro with it, but I am to the point where I can pinpoint a fish by as long as the territory is right, by means of side imaging, and I can actually sight cast, blind cast based off that. So that's pretty much where I'm at. That's where I'm trying to learn. I can do it, but I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to really just be able to just be like, boom, that's a fish. All right, where am I relative to the screen? Boom, pitch, and give myself a shot. I did that for the first time this year, snapper fishing, and I have repeated that with trout fishing. I was actually able to pinpoint how many fish were around structure based off of side scan. Side scan is an absolute game changer. So we're talking a little bit about that, and we're going to go into also rigging. But in relation, we can sort of stem off into rigging miscellaneous things, but the main focus of it is kayak fishing. Fish finders and rigging them, and just different ways to apply it. And hopefully, what I've learned in the past, I can share with you guys, because if you have not gotten into the side imaging game yet, you have no idea how many fish you're missing, dude. It changes everything on how you fish. And there's a few things that you got to do, man. Like there's an approach whenever you use fish finders and you're marking structure. You know, there's an approach to it, and there are things to look for, and hopefully I can help you guys with that. And if you guys have any advice for me as we go, by all means, definitely share what you've learned in past or in the past, because like I said, I'm still learning how to use it as well. Let's see who's in the house, man. We got some early birds today. We've got Noe Zartucci. What's up, brother? We got Noe Zartucci again. What's up, brother? We also have Beachside Living for Us. Wow, shout out to you guys. Ian Montelogan. Sorry. Hang on. Take two. Montelongo. Ian, where are you from, brother? Never heard anybody by that last name. Oscar Estringel. What's up? Rude Dog Kayak Fishing. Welcome back. Slot City Fishing, the homie. Welcome back. Keep reeling. Welcome back. Arturo. What's up, brother? Arturo's just ready, dude. He's already hashtagging Next Level Fishing TV. He's ready to win something. We're going to talk a little bit about that, man. So I have a wish list with ACK. I'm trying to get some stuff for you guys because I want to put what we're talking about this month. So we have, 4 weeks this month? I might bump up one of the podcasts just because of Thanksgiving weekend, but if everything works out good, we'll get you guys some good stuff in relation to what we're talking about this month. Eon, what's up, man? Hope you guys like the video. I put up a quick video of a couple of, well, actually, it was just one that I showed on the camera. That was more or less a good 27-inch trout. The trout are here, but the big ones, it's not like spring trout yet, but they're there. They're there, man. We had a few hard breaks this weekend, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Man, anytime I get anything through the mail, of course I got to block my my digits because I don't want anybody to be sending me any pipe bombs. I got this through the mail. So if you guys have never heard of Matrix Shed, and by the way, they don't even know I'm doing this. This is not paid promotion. This is nothing. This is just something that I got in the mail because they want me to try something. First and foremost, since it's winter and if you want to troll for trout, if you want that option, I'm super stoked about these. These are the Matrix Rip Shad. These are tiny, man. They're like, I mean, if you guys have ever seen a Matrix Shad, these are the paddle tails that I've caught my biggest trout on. I've caught all my biggest trout on matrix shad. I've caught a few on jerk shads. Jerk lures. But my actual PB trout was caught on a paddle tail by matrix shad. And you can also get trout by trolling, man. And this is something that I want to try where I'm at. Apparently, it's supposed to... Let's open it up so you guys can see. Apparently, it's supposed to go about 3 feet, which is perfect. Perfect. And then when you stop, it floats up. So, when you stop, it floats. When you go, it drops to 3. There's got to be some description on here. Boop. See if we can get a... They look pretty, man. They look very pretty. So, I'm excited to try this one out. It says, this suspending lure is 4 inches long, has high-pitched rattles for attracting fish from the depths, armored with heavy-duty black platinum nickel-plated hooks and split ring to fight off rust and corrosion. We're going to see about that, dude, because where I'm at, it's pretty salty. Yeah. So it says here, the lure dives down to 3 feet, then floats back to the surface when you hit the pause button. You guys know about that, right? Let's see here. So what they sent, check this out, man. Check this out. This is a normal matrix shad paddle tail, man. It's very small. I catch a lot of fish here with smaller lures. Yeah, down here. But they sent me... I don't know how many you... okay, so they have a new line, dude. It's called Matrix Mega. Dude, okay. So, I haven't opened these up. I've never even put my hands on them. It's the first time I'm actually seeing these. I took a glance earlier, but I haven't actually opened them up. So, we're going to open up this one. I want to see something because... I talked to Chaz, and he was like, man, we had to make you guys something to catch those big old Texas fish. I was like, dude, we're catching big old Texas fish on your lures just as small as they are. So, here's your trout killer matrix shad, and here's your mega. Look at this, dude. This is crazy, man. Let's see if I can... That's a big difference, dude. Let me hold it like a redfish. Who am I? So let's get a close-up here. Man, that's pretty, dude. So what I want to use these is I actually want to catch red snapper with them. But don't tell anybody I told y'all that. Some of y'all's messages are coming out giving me the option to show it or hide it. You guys must have been bad on some other YouTube channel for it to do that. I hope everybody's doing good, man. Again, welcome to the show, dude. What we do here, this is sort of our podcast / kayak fishing show. Just keeps you in the loop with everything Next Level Fishing TV and, of course, down the Gulf Coast, where I get to shoot it with you guys, man, and answer any questions y'all may have. As many of y'all know, we've been paying attention to a lot of trout fishing. That's sort of that's the big draw right now down in the Texas coast for many. Not all, but for many. And it's getting good, man. It's getting real good. Finding a lot of trout. I've picked up on their pattern, and so these trout are shuffling a lot, right? So after these cold fronts is when you get sort of like a new flush of a lot of moving trout. But whenever they pause, those trout seem to kind of just get a feel for where they're at. And it's funny, man, like, it doesn't matter, not that I can prove that this trout is new to this territory after the front versus pre-front, but it's funny how they just follow each other, man. They go, I'm finding them deep early morning, and then once that sun pokes up, you're going to find them real shallow up against the banks, chasing mullet or whatever bait species may present itself where you guys are at. Of course, this is all territory dependent, but it's that back and forth shuffle, deep, shallow, and that kind of like right when the sun is dropping is when I've been hitting them the most, and they're right in between. They're like right on that middle water column. They're not very shallow pushing bait to where you can almost side cast them, and they're not too deep where you're going to have to be relying on your side scan. They're just kind of right there in the middle, in like 3 or 4 foot. and I'm picking them off along some shell and other structure. But it's funny that it's all lined up. So I'm working what I consider deeper trout structure, and it's funny how when you look across or you look up against the bank of the shoreline, there's good grass. That's kind of like the correlation right there. If you got good deep trout structure, and if there's a shoreline close that comes up in elevation and that's, got some good flowing water, they're back and forth, man. And then, of course, there'll be a lot of shuffling whenever these fronts hit. So that's sort of been the pattern. That's all I will tell you guys right now. So if you can kind of correlate that to wherever you're at, well, then see if it works for you. It may not. Every place kind of has its own thing. Let's see here. So, yep, need it. Very similar to crystal minnow. Yep. It's hollowed out. I don't know what that means. That's good to know about jerk versus paddle tail. I find myself using jerk-style soft plastics more often. Need to try paddle tails more. I like to bump paddle tails. A lot of guys will just glaze them across, just doing this. If you guys watched one of the recent videos I released, I pointed that out. I said, notice how I'm not really constantly retrieving it for these trout. I'm actually just retrieving it, stopping, letting it drop, bumping it up, letting it go back down again, bumping it a few more times, then bringing it over. And it's kind of like that in and out, up and down. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to antagonize, or how should I put this? I'm trying to cause a reaction strike. And sometimes, man, those trout will just follow a lure. If it stays and it keeps the same momentum, I've seen this time and time again, personally, is when I'm just bringing and bringing. Sometimes that trout will just follow. Won't do nothing but follow it. But then once you stop it and pause it and let it drop and jerk it up, sometimes that's all it takes, man, for it to change its mind. And I get a lot more hits when I'm doing that, and I'm doing that aggressive jerk, whether it's on a paddle tail or a jerk actual bait, believe it or not. So you'll notice that on a lot of my videos, man, when I'm fishing, particularly for trout. You're going to see me just, and then, back and forth. So full armor bass, and welcome, man. That's good to know. Okay, so that was a comment by Mesquite Outdoors. What's up? How you doing, man? How are the Matrix compared to Z-Man for longevity? Matrix shad. Z-Man has very good longevity. Matrix shad has just as good, if not better, longevity. I've been using these lures since they first hit mainstream. When they were literally making these out of Louisiana in a little shack. I say shack. I'm just trying to juice that up. I really don't know if it was in a shack or not. But I tried them and I fell in love with them because I can go all day with one lure, and I can catch. What's my count? I put it up on Facebook one time. I think I caught about 40 trout, about 8 reds, and it was just very grady. Obviously, the fish is going to do damage, but this is a very tough lure, dude. Very tough lure. You want me to split this one? Let's see. Let's split it live. Ugh, right there. All right. This is an old one. I've already used this one out, but it's a tough lure, dude. I'm telling you right now, and that's the biggest shock when fishing with Matrix shad. They're made out of Louisiana, so very similar water clarity, fishing style as us. They do very well. They're trout killers. Redfish, not so much. Redfish, they do good, but they're not the best, and I'm being honest with you guys. I've caught a lot of big reds. My record on a Matrix shad is 43-inch red in the flats. So, yes, they do catch fish, but I noticed that you got to work it a little differently. Not as fast, because the thing is these paddles move, dude, once they get going. I don't know. My biggest red has been on trout support. 45-inch bull red in the flats, pushing water, pushing bait, sight casted, dude. It's beautiful. It's one thing to catch a slot red and a small bull, But it's another thing to actually catch a full-grown mature bull in just a foot of water. That makes your heart not pump but jump. And a lot of guys have yet to experience that. There are very few places down the Texas coast where you can experience that caliber of redfish in shallow water. You mainly only see the upper slots, the bulls, around your delta areas. But I'm not a guide. I don't really take people out and show people that. But if I'm friends with you and if you hang out with me long enough, I may take you back there to these areas. It will blow your mind to see a mid 45 to, I've seen over 50-inch reds in this area, but I'm talking way too much. Change the subject. All right. So beachside living for us, to answer your question, I mean, I've never actually compared them side by side, but I have used Z-Man. They're very strong, very good lures. Sora Matrix. I just like these smaller paddle tails a little better than the larger ones. Although I'm very curious to see how this is going to hold up. That being said, what was I going to tell you? I was going to tell you something, and I completely lost my train of thought. They're good. Looks like a 20-inch trout in your hands. This right here? Yeah. 20-inch trout. That's a pro tip right there. Hey, brother, Full Armor Bassin says, hey, my brother. Just wanted to chime in before getting the little ones to bed. God bless you, buddy, and have a great night. Man, you're one cool dude, and thank you. I appreciate that, man. My little one's here about to hit night here also, so thank you, sir. Nick, friend Pan says, dang. I don't know what you're danging about, but dang. I caught a 38-inch at Flower Bluff. Yeah. That's about as big as they can get bigger there, but that's a good. I remember seeing that episode. Slot City Fishing has an episode on his YouTube channel where I think it's the night is falling, and he hooks up on a late night bull, and that was a really, really pretty red you got. That's about as big as I've seen. I know that there's probably some big ones in there, but very rare. So that one you got was very special for that area. Just letting the secrets, keep letting the secrets go. Man, more than anything, the biggest secret is just putting in work, dude. I can tell you everything that I know, and it may or may not work. You still got to put in the time. You still got to put in the work, and you still got to work on your retrieval, your pumps, it's just, I don't know, man. It's not as easy as just sharing knowledge. It can be. I think for reds more so, because reds can be a little easier once you figure out their cycles and how they move in and out around in the bay system and flats and deltas and offshore, inshore, all that stuff. But trout's different. Trout can make you a junkie real quick. Can't tell you that. But there's a video of me and if you guys want to see some big reds being caught, double bull reds. And I'm not talking about a 30-inch bull, a 32-inch bull, a 35-inch bull. I'm talking about a legitimate PhD graduate bull redfish. If you want to see two guys hook up on them, almost simultaneously, not quite, but almost. But we're definitely fighting them at the same time. Me and Ram, we did that, and we have that episode. What is it called? I think it's just called like bull redfish or something like that. I'm going to post this after this video. I will post it up on Nick just gave me $10. What? Dude, I didn't even ask for no $10. But you did it. Holy smokes. I totally forgot about that whole God dog it. Man, dude, you didn't have to do all that. Get with me, dude. I'm going to send you a shirt, dude. Nick's going to get a next level fishing shirt. Man, you made me lose my train of thought, dude. I appreciate that, Nick. Didn't have to do that, brother, but I appreciate that very much. I'll be sure to use that money wisely and put some more gifts on everybody's stocking as we get forward to Christmas or get going towards Christmas. Reds stay around the same areas when They get big too. Yeah, they do. They do. But right there where you were at, they flush. In and out. That's a very good area to fish. You know exactly where you're at. Yeah, Ernesto hit it right there, man. You just got to grind, brother. Once you know that they're around, you just got to grind. So if you're just tuning in, we talked a little bit about trout fishing and what the patterns were. Here's the weather update, by the way. If you look at the bottom of your screen, I hope to see you guys somewhere around here Saturday. I'll be out and about Saturday. But right here is what we're looking at. Offshore kayak fishing, don't even think about it. It's going to be beautiful weather, but the swells, the surf after this front, it's just going to turn things up. It's not going to look good. But inshore is going to be absolutely amazing, dude. I rated a number 1 because we're finally going to hit that first big blast of cold air to the point where, you know, you get that mist that comes off the bay, the warmer waters. And, you know, it's almost more dangerous to be outside than inside because that water's probably going to be warmer. But where I'm getting at with that is temperature's going to be going down. Wind's going to be shuffling fish. If you caught a big trout already or something that you're proud of, go back to that same spot after this front on Saturday and Sunday, maybe Monday if you can, and see what happens. And bring a pad and document everything you do. What time the bait kicked on, when it was dead, what type of lure, time of the day, get the barometer pressure. Just write it down, dude. Make a journal. Have fun with it. That's what I did for a few years. Man, today was a busy day. So if you guys have any questions, by the way, fire them off while I explain this here. There's a podcast coming out. It's a Paddle and Fin podcast. Dustin Nichols. If you guys don't know, if that name doesn't ring a bell, he's with the Jackson Kayak Fishing Team. He just got into a podcast called Paddle and Fin, and he's got his own segment or show now. And I'm super stoked, man. We just got done, I was his guest on this first episode, which was a huge honor, man. So congratulations to Dustin. I don't know if he listens to this. Doesn't matter. He's a great guy, dude. And I enjoyed, we talked about a lot, dude. If you guys want to talk about or if you want to tune in, keep your eye out for that podcast when it releases. Talked a little bit about just everything, man, from inshore to offshore. A lot of the things that people don't realize that we have here, and it could quite possibly change your trajectory on species that you maybe didn't know we had, that we do have, that are very readily accessible all up and down the Gulf Coast. So we talked a little bit about that. We talked a little bit about trout fishing. He's a little bit north of me. Obviously I'm here. So we shared just, not too much, but just basic patterns. Talked very lightly on it. And I think you guys will enjoy it a lot. I shared a couple of stories. We talked a little bit about the sailfish, king fishing, snapper fishing, Florida, going in and trying to get an Atlantic sailfish. I talked a little bit about that. Where I've gone from Mexico all the way up to Florida, obviously here in Texas as well, where I grew up, where I haven't fished, and some of the things that I do want to add to my bucket list. So it was a fun podcast. Keep your eye out for that. Cold weather, Laguna Madre equals fire. It really, really does. Mark Garcia's in the house. What is up? Bobby T is checking in. What is going on, man? All the homies are here today, dude. What is going on, man? How's everybody doing? I hope you guys are coming to the coast this weekend. I'll be out there Saturday. I don't think I'm going to be able to get out there Sunday, man, but I will most definitely be out there Saturday trying out some new tactics. If you're just tuning in, whenever this podcast is done, you can rewind it. We opened up a Matrix Shed box, shared a couple new things that's coming out. If you like to troll for trout, if you're in deep enough water, something new that I'm going to be using this weekend. And Matrix Shed came out with something called the Matrix Mega. So don't mind this. We did a stress test earlier. But, you can use your imagination. Here's what we'll do. We got a limper, just so you can kind of see the difference between the new and the old Matrix Shed. They're still making these, but they have something called the Mega for us Texas boys. I'm going to jig for red snapper with these. There's some colors that they have that I like. And I'm going to also see if I can catch a redfish on this. It's like the same size as like the Gambler. And what else? I don't know. Here's some colors here. They got purple. I don't know what they call this. They got a white one, which I'm a big fan of. And there's some other stuff here. But I don't feel like getting messy right now. So, where am I going to be fishing at, buddy? Ernesto, get with me, man. I've got room for maybe one. I don't know. Maybe two. Maybe three, four. I don't know. We'll see. I need to get a game plan first. The reason why, whenever I'm trout fishing, one of the reasons why I don't roll with a lot of people, it's got nothing to do with sharing or not sharing, rather. It's trout fishing can be so finicky. You know, some of the structure that I work on, it'll get ruined by two people very quickly. Especially if you're crossing, if you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know how to look at the currents, and you don't have the same fish finder, if you don't have side scan, if you're, there's key things like you can basically cross the wrong path or cross a piece of structure that you may not know it's there, but I do, and that could just ruin the bite. And so I do go out there with a few guys, but they already know the layout. You know, I kind of brief them on all that. Whenever I'm going deep trout fishing, shallow trout fishing is easy. It's just got to do about 300 casts. So I've actually trolled some. Oh yeah, so we've got a comment here. Let me start up the top. Third degree fishing. Oh, dude, what's up, brother? A few podcasts ago, or live shows that we did, we were talking about the Lake Calaveras and whatnot. So third degree fishing, that's the first place guy right there, dude. You can go check out his channel, man. He just started up, Third Degree Fishing. He's got good stuff, man. His redfish was a slob, dude. I mean, I was joking with him about making the crickets. When he rolled up with his redfish, the crickets stopped creaking. I think I messed up on that again. I was joking, but it was big, dude. It was big. It was a legit red, and he basically cleaned house with that. Oscar Estringel says, for colder temps when kayak fishing, is it safe to use Simms chest waders? Oscar, so last month in October, on the Next Level Fishing Show, live show, we talked a lot about that. We highlighted safety, and you feel free to go back and listen to that. It's all the October live cast here on this playlist. But to answer it very quickly, it is, but there's a wrong way and a right way to wear your waders. Waders in the winter, and if you wear them wrong, if they're not tightly sealed up against the mid part of your body or however far up they stretch, that's the kind of stuff that gets kayak anglers killed. So be very careful, man, because what ends up happening is if you flip, in the rare event that you do flip, and if you do not have your waders put on properly, you can take on water, and then you literally will become a human drift sock. And if you're in a deep channel and that current's pulling, doesn't matter how good of a fisher or a swimmer you are, you're gonna go straight down, man. And there's almost no way to survive that. That's my biggest fear. It's one of the reasons why I very rarely wear waders when I'm around deep water. So there's a right way and a wrong way. I would say to talk to an avid wade fisherman for instructions on that. I don't use Simms because that's too high class for me. But talk to a retailer. Talk to ACK, any of those guys out there in San Antonio, ACK in San Antonio. Give those guys a call and ask them, and they will answer that question on how to handle that particular brand. There were some other questions. First time actually catching you live. Oh, yeah. Welcome, dude. Welcome aboard, Third Degree. We just shoot it, man, once a week. And so how this goes is we pick a monthly topic. So we're talking about, this month we're going to talk about using your fish finder properly. and rigging it up, different stuff. And if you have questions concerning that, or you want me to touch bases after every podcast, comment below, or you can comment here live, and we'll continue to elaborate on that on the next series or the next episode every Thursday. So welcome aboard. I've actually trolled some channels by Shamrock Cove with a 1 ounce jig head, paddle tail, and done well. Nice, dude. I miss Shamrock, man. Ever since they closed that area down, I know a lot of people were getting broken into. I had my stuff broken into there a couple times, but it was well worth it. That place was good fishing back there, dude. I miss that place, man. I wish I could go there now, knowing what I know now versus back then, and just see, because, man, there's some beautiful little areas there, man. Gosh, I need to get down there somehow, some way. Top secret. Yep. Big Fishy. Do you paint that painting in... Oh, did I paint that painting in the background? No, Big Fishy. So this is a yellowfin tuna. Personally, I didn't paint it. Somebody else did. One of the guys who got me into the sport of kayak fishing, Rob Choi. Kayak Kevin and Rob Choi played a big part in inspiring me to kayak fish. They are writers for Kayak Angler magazine, so that was years back. They still do. They do great articles with them. Since then, them being my inspiration into the sport on how they were battling these big redfish and striper, and I wanted to do that, you know. 8 years later, or 5 years, no, 9 years later, man, I said, you know what, dude, I need to own his art. I mean, that's how much I look up to these guys, you know, because they got into it well before the big bangs of the masses came into the kayak fishing world, and before the GoPro days, they had like the actual big cameras with the little tapes, and they would waterproof dome everything, and they'd go out there, dude, and a Texas bull red, you know, 45 respectable, 50 respectable. That's like almost daily whenever they time it out there. Their big reds are like 58, 60, and they were hammering these on old ocean kayaks, dude. And you talk about close combat fishing and just battling big fish on a little small plastic kayak. Those dudes, it's real impressive to watch their old stuff. I mean, I can watch it nonstop every day. So that's his artwork. Sorry, I kind of went off on a little rant there, but that's Rob Choi's artwork. He does these beautiful. That's actually the only one. So every print is unique. Look him up, Rob Choi. He's with T-Motion Kayak. Great artwork, man. Great artwork. Let me follow these. I'll sit on your shoulders. What's up, Robert Pena? How are you, man? Thanks for the shout. Yeah, man, anytime, dude. Still trying to get on your gator trout level, man. It's just time, dude. It's just time and putting a little bit of work and finding an area that holds them, that you know that holds them. So trout structure and learning what trout structure is key. Learning the environment is key. Learning how the ins and the outs, the difference between a bay trout and a shallower marsh trout, in a sense. There's a difference, dude. There's a difference. A lot of people don't know this, but there is a difference between how they move, where they move. That's not to say they cannot cross each other's paths, and then a trout that's pushed up shallower up against, maybe that's further away from a pass and is just living most of his life in dug grass to stay warm. That's not to say that trout cannot eventually go into the bay trout systems or how they like to move, because as of 9 years ago, Texas Park and Wildlife did a huge study on this, and for the longest time, it didn't get this, dude. For the longest time, every guide would tell you big trout don't move. They don't go very far. Every guide, every scientist, every marine biologist, everybody would say no. It's very important to understand that big trout, or trout in general, don't move. So they finally did the study about 9 years ago, and all the reports are on Texas Park and Wildlife. Eric Delois actually posted something on this a few months back. And the tagging system proved that trout actually, they do move. They move a lot. And your trout that you get up in the deltas one day can be out there in the surf, So trout do move. But once they get honed in on a location, they tend to stick with it for a while. So what was I saying? No, but that's what you got to, that would be my advice, is learning patterns, learning what do bay trout do, what are their tendencies, and what is some of these other shallower running trout. They're digging themselves in mud, that snot grass, what's their cycles? How are they surviving the winter, versus a deeper bay trout? And that's going to answer a lot of questions once you can figure that out, and then you start figuring out what is good trout structure. And how a trout bounces in weather, especially like right now, between morning, afternoon, and a Y, and then it's all going to come together. And then you're going to have to pick a side. All right, so let me first read down here. That's what good weight belts are for. Yes, you're absolutely right, Slot. Bobby T. Hey, bro, have you ever used chatter weights along with swim baits while bouncing on chatter weights? Oh, hang on. Let me reread this. Do you mean like a what's that Japanese rig called? You're talking about gosh, what do they call that? Swim bait while bouncing on the yeah, that's what's the name of that setup, dude? It's a Japanese setup. I know exactly what you're talking about. I haven't used them. They do work, but I haven't used them. The reason I don't use them is I don't know why I don't use them actually. I don't know. I'll give it a shot, man. I don't really like to have all this flashiness. I'm a very simple dude. If I'm on a bait caster, I'm braid to a fluorocarbon leader, straight to the jig head on most of my soft plastics and top waters. I don't use swivels unless I'm on a spinner, a spin cast reel, but I don't really use spin casters. I use a lot of bait casters. I don't use swivels, man. I'm just straight lines. So that being said, that simplicity sort of follows and trickles down into my presentations. So I'm very minimal. I really don't try too much craziness. I did at one point in my career about 3 or 4 years ago. I was trying all kinds of crazy stuff, but I just realized, you know what, dude, I'm catching very good fish on very simple setups. So, my confidence was there, and that's where I left. It's not to say it can't work, but confidence is everything, dude. I can tell you how good this lure is, but if you're only confident with this lure, then I would tell you to drop that one and use the lure that you have most confidence with. Somebody who tells you that one lure can catch, if I have two different, let's just say hypothetically these are two different brands, somebody tells you that this one will catch more than that, maybe there's a little bit better of a chance, but I think it more than not, it comes down to finesse, how you're presenting it, how your presentation is, how natural your presentation is. If you're picking up on working patterns, what are they going after, Is the fish that you're targeting, is it an ambusher? Is it hunting? Is it pushing bait? What is it doing, and how can you present to trigger that fish? Those are things that you should always think about, which is very detailed stuff, but, it's good info. Rattle jig heads. Man, I used to use Hellraiser, and here, let me tell you something about rattle jig heads, and this is nothing against rattle jig heads. Ruben uses them. He uses the Rockport Rattler, or what is it called? Is it Rockport? I forget. He changed names. They work, okay? But here's the thing about that. I catch most of my big trout. I think Redfish, you'd probably be all right. I don't think it's going to matter too much. It depends on how spooky. It depends on the water clarity, lateral lines, how sensitive these fish are. If you've ever been in a situation where the water's mucked up and it's muddy and you're like in 2 inches of water and you clank your paddle on your hole and all of a sudden you see all this mullet fling out and reds fling out. It's because whenever these fish are dug into low visibility, their secondary sense on detecting bait is to detect vibrations in the water. So those are the fish lateral lines. That's how fish will hunt at night. That's how, most fish, not all, but most. The thing is once their lateral lines are super sensitive, they can pick up on the slightest vibration in the water. That could be signature mullet. And if it hears something that vibrates and they just never heard of that before, it freaks them out, dude, and they run. So that being said, there are limitations to rattlers. I think there's a situation for it. I wouldn't toss it in a situation where the water's real dirty. And if the fish are kind of spooky, they're just not ready, they're not pushing bait, they're not hunting, they're just kind of like stagnant, I wouldn't toss anything like that. That's where you use your fly rods or your lightest jig head with very minimal smack, I guess you could say. But I've scared a lot of big trout with those jig rattlers, man. It's not, and I hope that doesn't veer you away from not using them. I think you should use them. Use them, and if they're working for you, use them. But me personally, man, I've actually scared big trout away with those. And a lot of that has to do with the time of year that I'm using them, and I shouldn't have never been using them. I should have just been there with a simple soft plastic, no weighted jig head, just a weedless setup hook, and did my thing. So I don't use those anymore. Frog togs, never used them. Legend. The shiny pink rattles. The shiny pink rattle jig heads. The fish hit the chatter weighted on the hook. Never used them again. Yeah. Cool, man. So where are we at right now? So I took y'all's advice, right? So this month we're going to be talking a little bit about, let's go ahead and get into this, what we're going to be talking about from the remainder, and we'll get heavily on it next Thursday, but I'll just introduce it. This way I'll give you guys an opportunity to ask questions about it. And if you know somebody who is just a super master at using fish finders, let me know. Maybe I can bring them on, and we can have a little live show with me and that person and with you guys. We'll open it up so y'all can ask whatever questions, and of course we'll be giving away some amazing stuff, dude. Of course, presented by ACK Fishing, so it's all going to be rigging and fish finder related. And I will reveal that information as soon as we get it. But we're going to be talking about how to actually use. I'm surprised at how many people haven't figured out side scan yet, side imaging. Not to say like, I don't mean for that to come off in the wrong way. I'm just surprised that a lot of people don't. They haven't quite figured it out yet. I was actually talking to one guy today. I won't name him, but I don't know if he'll get embarrassed of me saying that, but. Talked to a guy today. Was right next to him. He's like, yeah, I haven't quite figured that out. I don't get it. And I did my best to kind of explain it, but he's not the only one, man. I've run into guys, and they look at my new fish finder. I'm using the Humminbird fish finder. I've never used Humminbird. I've always stayed away from Humminbird because of wiring issues that they've had. They're just not very good when it comes down to taking on water. I still don't think they are. But I've done something to vastly improve the longevity of it. So we're going to talk about a little bit about taking care of your fish finders, what you can use to make them last as long as they possibly can in a very abusive environment of kayak fishing, especially if you're around salt. And how to really set up your chart plotting and how to actually go back and when you mark structure, how not to cross things. This is especially more emphasizing on saltwater, but set up your boundaries and don't cross those boundaries, but know exactly the structure you're trying to pitch into and know how to use your side scan. There are some things that if you do wrong, you're not going to have any accuracy whatsoever. So I'll be answering a lot of those questions to help you guys out. And if you have never used a side imaging fish finder. Let me just tell you this, dude. First off, it's night and day, and it's a huge game changer. And I hate saying game changer, especially with this past iCast, but because everything was a game changer, right? But I'm being very serious when I say this. It Once you hone in and once you can target a species of fish with your side imaging and down scanning too. Once you can say, oh, all right, that's a fish right there. 20 feet above it, drop your line and you can see your line go down and you can, boop. That's how I got snapper this year. That's where I'm at as far as my learning process goes. And it's very possible to do that. Very, very possible. So we'll talk a little bit all about that. And I'm excited to go over that and answer a few questions for you. Fishing is about confidence and what works for you. Absolutely, man. More than, preaching colors, preaching brands, more than any of that, dude. It's super, it's all about confidence, dude. I cannot tell you how my style of fishing changes when I'm using a lure that probably does work, but I just don't feel confident with it because I haven't caught enough fish on it. I haven't honed in on how I want to work it. My wrist, everything that I'm doing, that second nature is, designed for something like this and not for the other one. And it will change your attitude from head to toe. It will, you probably won't cast as much. You probably won't cast as far. You probably won't be as patient. There's like a trickle effect when confidence isn't there, and that can make the difference between getting a trophy and not, or getting a fish and not. It's huge, dude. Yeah. So, yes, sir. Keep reeling. Yes, sir. Which, by the way, shout out to Keep Reeling, dude. I had a guy one time like, man, you don't ever. What did somebody got mad at me one time for not dropping a competitive brands that, I don't know. Anyway, shout out to, I work with Yak Gear, right? We make leashes. But Keep Reeling makes leashes, dude. If you guys are looking for like a paddle leash, man, go and visit him. Go and visit his Facebook page, man. That dude has got some stuff, man. I don't use a lot of leashes, believe it or not. And I have reasons for that, but the only leash I actually do use is a paddle leash, which, I've used for a while. It's worked. Never had any issues with it from Yak Gear. But if you want something that's just a little bit beefier and it can probably pull a truck. Actually, I think it did pull a truck. Go visit his stuff, man. He's a local dude. I'm all about the local stuff. Even though I represent some of these brands that are, international, I still show a lot of love, dude, for local ingenuity and grassroots stuff. It means a lot to me, and it would mean a lot if you go check out his stuff that he's got down there. Ugh, I'm all. It's a sign of the weather right there. So, all right, guys. Well, I'll give you guys a couple seconds if y'all have any Q&A. If not, like the video, hit the little bell. It'll notify you guys whenever we go live. And next week, what I'm going to do before I let you guys go, I'm going to set up my fish finder right here. And we're going to run some demos and just talk about certain situations and what I would do. And I'd love your feedback. What would you do? It may be different from me. I'm not trying to make this, I'm going to show you what you need to do. I'm just going to show you what I've been doing and how it's paid off big on scoring some of these real big trout, even reds, and some of it even offshore. What it's cut the time of for me offshore using these fish finders. So it's going to be fun, man. I hope you guys tune in next Thursday, 8 p.m. Next week, we will be back to our giveaways. I'm giving away a shirt tonight, but I'm going to give it to Nick here. He didn't need to do that, so I feel like, man, if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna give you a shirt, dude. We'll call it an even trade. So I appreciate that, Nick. Nick donated $10 to I don't even know how this works, like completely what the super chats and all that stuff does, or how it even gets to me. I really don't. I guess it follows into the Google stuff, the payouts. I have no idea. Anyway, I'll figure that out later. But shout out to him, man. Like I said, you didn't have to do that. And as I close this off, just know that we got good fishing coming. Stick with it. There's redfish everywhere. Did I even give you guys a report today? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. Today, the front blew in a lot earlier than expected. Here's a good example of taking everything that you see off of a weather app, taking it with a grain of salt, because the front was supposed to come in at between 6 and 9 p.m. Dude, it came in at like 3:50, 4 o'clock. If anybody was on in the water during that, and if you were in the wrong setting, not protected, you could have been in big trouble. I hope nobody was hurt after that, because that came in way early. But I didn't really get a chance to go out there and do damage on the water. I more or less went, saw some friends, and we came back because it just got too sketchy with lightning. So, a lot of reds. Matt lost a huge red live on Facebook. He was a bull. He said probably mid-30s. So that's a good, respectable bull. He lost it because his fishing stringer was about 15 feet too long and his line wrapped around. So take that as a lesson learned for anybody. It's happened to me before in the past. But the reds are out there, man. But it seems like the bite's just been a lot better during the day. If you're trout fishing, personally, for me, I've been hitting the trout later on in the afternoon. Seems like they're coming out for a later snack in about mid-water. So let's say if you're working in a bay that's 10 feet, they'll be hunkering as that sun sets. I've been finding them at about 4 or 5 feet as they're trickling back to deeper water at night. So it's a back and forth motion. If you don't know what I'm talking about and that sounds confusing, go back and rewatch this live show, and we talk a little bit about that. So that's sort of the report. Everything's good, man. Fishing has just been great. But it's going to get interesting this weekend as temperatures go down between the 40s, some places even 30s. And I'll be sure to release an episode before the next live show. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed everything today that we talked about. Like this video again. Like I said, if you enjoy our content. If not, don't worry about it. But if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, hit that bell so you know when we go live. And leave me some comments, man. Leave me some feedback. What would you guys like to know about fish finders and rigging them? And I'll be sure to incorporate that on the next podcast when this really does take off into fish finders and rigging. So y'all have a wonderful night. And I appreciate all the love, man. Later, we got to do this. We got to have a smooth outro transition. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. Okay. All right, here's how we're going to do this. We'll see you guys later.